Hello there, this is top-rated forexbrokers.com and we continue with the Trading Academy with a very interesting concept, the trend. Everyone knows the trend and how to trade a trend, but not many people know how to identify a trend and what makes a trend. Before going long or going short, or before buying or selling in a trend, we must first look at what makes a trend, and only after that, how to trade a trend. For a trend, you need a simple thing, a trend line or the line of a trend. For a trend line, on the other hand, you only need 2 points, 1 and 2. Considering that these 2 points are the starting point of a trend, we can simply drag a trend line and connect the 2 points. So this is what we have already from the price. And then we simply drag the trend on the right side and it gives us future supporting resistance levels. So it gives us the possibility to buy dips in a rising trend or to buy or sell spikes in a falling one. Now this here is the recent price on the daily chart for the Euro US dollar. It is a way of visualizing it because the Euro US dollar is in a bullish trend since December 2006, when it dealt 103.50 and went all the way to 1.24 for various reasons. I'm not going to discuss the fundamentals here, but let's assume that we don't know this price action here. So we simply look at the lows here, and the market goes and makes a higher low, and then goes and makes another higher high compared with the previous one. Now, before we go on, we have the 2 points of a trend line, but a trend is made of a series of bullish trends. In this case, it's a series of higher highs and higher lows. Or if you have a bearish trend, then you look for lower lows and lower highs. But the idea is for the market to break the previous lower high. So you have the high and you have the lower high. The market made it low and then it jumped. Failing to take the previous lower high, dipped low, but it failed to take the low. So this would be our first point for the new trend line. And then the market goes and breaks the previous high here. Namely, it invalidates the bearish trend and bulls start to kick in. So where do we go long? Well, that's very easy to define a trend. In this case, so we go from the previous low. We connect the new point that we have, just like that. So we have already had this one and the 2. The prerequisite of a trend, then the market moves higher and all eyes are on the previous highs. The high is broken, so this is confirmation. So when the market comes to the trend line, remember the line of a trend, this is how you go long. Or you buy for a very good risk-reward ratio. Now you might say, okay, this is very easy because we already know what the price action did here. But in fact, we don't care what was here. We never interpreted what was here on the right. We simply used the logical approach on how to evaluate the previous trend with the lower highs, how to look for the creation of the new trend, and then simply look at the possible place to go long. And that would only be when price retests or when the price comes back to the trend line. But what next? Well, as long as this original trend line holds the price action, because the Euro US dollar here reacted only once from this trend line, the price action is still valid. But we should use the same approach on a trend line on a trend of a lower degree. For example, what do we do with this move from here? We use the same logic, absolutely the same logic. Namely, we wait for the price to break the previous high, but it is not enough as we are already in a bullish trend. We wait for it to go for the next lower high on the previous trend. So we draw a trend line. This is 1.13, if I'm not mistaken. We simply wait for the price to break that one. Therefore, we have the new first point for the new trend line at a lower degree, second point all the way here before breaking the high, and we simply go and take another trend line. From here, connecting the 2 points, and from here, and we drag it up all the way to the upside. So let's now make it a different colour. And that will be the new trend line of the rising channel. So now what do we do in this case? We do not have any possibility to go long in such a trend line of this arrangement. Not even here. Because as this happened before, we were able to draw the trend line. So what do? Well, it's very easy. In a trend, no matter if it's bullish or bearish, we can also sell in a bullish trend, and we can also buy in a bearish trend, especially if we talk about time frames like this one, like the daily chart. So what do traders do? They simply copy the trend line, the original trend line with the line of the trend, and they paste it on the other side of the market. Remember, our focus was for the market here to break this high. So this is where we paste it the moment that it broke the high. This is where we paste the trend line. So we have the new trend line with the opposite trend line. So we have built a channel. So what do we do next? Well, we were not able to buy, I agree, but nevertheless, we were able to sell here, and we were able to sell here. And all eyes stay on what? Eyes then stay on the rising channel, or the rising trend line to be broken. The moment that it is broken, the trend ended. In this way, we both added and sold on a rising trend. Using some logical principles. What should the focus be next? The focus should next be on the reverse, on the rising trend line, on this Euro-US dollar chart. The main one, which is the main trend line, and to follow the exact same principle, but this time for a bearish trend. So we have to validate the previous bullish trend to go and take the previous lows, like this one here, which is not that far away, the previous higher lows, and then by the moment that we broke this one, which is a confirmation, then we simply wait for the pullback. We connect the 2 months, and then, just like that, and we go towards the trend with a bigger degree. It is as simple as that. Technical analysis on a pure chart comes from the beauty of a trend. Now let's move on with moving average, or different ways to trade with moving averages. And if you thought that the trend line was interesting, you should see how beautiful it is with a moving average. Goodbye.